Hey guys, welcome back to the Vintage Hen and Chick. My name is Shelly, the owner and creator here, and in today's video, I am sharing 3 trash to treasure thrift flips that I am absolutely in love with. I've got a vintage Hoosier flour sifter dressed up with the most gorgeous IOD transfers, a wood stool with a sweet milk paint finish and a paint inlay, and a cast iron rooster that turned out so pretty. Now let's get started. Project number 1 is this amazing vintage flour sifter from a Hoosier cabinet. I picked this up at a local community sale. I love the way it looks, but I wanted to dress it up with some transfers, so I'm going to start out by applying some transfers from the IOD Saint Germain transfer set. I thought the florals from this transfer set would look beautiful on this soft minty green of the flour sifter. So I've cut out my transfer and now I'm just placing it down on my flour sifter. The surface is metal, so transfers go on a surface like this so perfectly. So I'm pressing it down with my hands and then I'm using my transfer tool to rub that transfer into place. I am going to go over the edges with the transfer and I'm rubbing that down. There is a little bit of tack to these transfers, so just rubbing it down will keep it in place until I can get to that area. So then I'm going to start on one side and work my way to the other. Start by peeling back that transfer vellum and continuing to rub with my transfer tool. Once I get this entire transfer piece applied, then I will go over the entire thing with the transfer vellum and burnish everything in. This is a big chunk of transfer, so it's going to take a little bit of time, but I'm just going to take my time and work from one side to the next. I have a few more transfer pieces from this transfer set, and I'm just going to continue to apply them in the same way that I applied my first transfer piece. So this transfer piece is going to be applied over that metal piece that's sticking out of the sifter. So all I did is I marked the area where that piece was on my transfer beforehand, and I cut a little hole in there, and then I just laid the transfer right down over that metal piece. And as I'm removing the transfer vellum, you can see that the transfer is perfectly aligned right around that metal piece. I've also chosen a transfer from the IOD Home Sweet Home transfer set. I thought the word flower from that set was going to be perfect for this piece. So I'm just laying it down just like I did with my other transfers and applying it with my transfer tool and then removing that vellum and burnishing everything in. So my transfer needs to be sealed in. So I'm going to be using my Dixie Belle Clear Coat Satin. And I'm also going to be using my Dixie Dirt in the color Earth. This is a technique that I like to use to make things look a little bit more vintage and kind of grunged up a little bit. So what I'm doing here is I'm just applying a good layer of my clear coat, and then I'm going to take a brush and dip it in my Dixie Dirt, and then I'm going to apply it in some of the creases and areas on this flour sifter that would show a little bit more wear or rust naturally. And then I'm going to go back over that area where I applied the Dixie Dirt with the brush that I applied my clear coat with and kind of blend everything in. And this just gives it a little bit more of an old and vintage look. So I'm going to continue to do that over the entire flour sifter, getting everything sealed in and adding some Dixie Dirt in places that I think it's going to look nice. And now I'm just taking my brush and dipping it in the Dixie Dirt, tapping it so that way little sprinkles of that dirt falls on my sifter to make it look like rust spots. I just love how this turned out. Those florals are everything. You could use this as a vase like I am here, or you could even hang it on a wall. Let me know in the comments what you think. Project number 2 is this cute little wooden stool, and I started out by spraying the top and sides with some shellac, and I'm going to paint it in some milk paint. And I'm using a mixture of Sweet Pickins curry milk paint and flour sack. So I did 1 scoop of curry to a half a scoop of flour sack in equal parts of warm water. And so I'm just going to do 2 coats of the milk paint over the top and the sides of the stool and then let that dry. The milk paint and shellac help create some beautiful crackling and crazing. And now I'm just going to take some 220 grit sandpaper and I'm going to sand down the milk paint so it's nice and smooth. And I'm also going to distress the edges. So anywhere that any of this milk paint is going to chip off, the sanding is going to make that happen. I'm going to be applying a paint inlay to the top of the stool from the IOD Alfred Peats Co paint inlay. I've cut out the piece that I'm going to use. I'm going to take my mister bottle and get the paint side of my inlay wet, set that to the side, and then I'm going to take my Dixie Belle Satin Clear Coat, put a healthy coat on top of the stool because I'm going to be applying my paint inlay into the clear coat. Once I get the clear coat applied to the stool, then I will take my paint inlay, place it down into that clear coat, paint side down. Once I get that placed paint side down, I will mist the top of the paint inlay and then take a dry paper towel and push that paint inlay in and kind of mop up that excess water on top of the paint inlay. Now that my paint inlay is completely dry, I'm just taking my mister bottle and re-wetting that inlay. And now I'm taking a dry paper towel and mopping up that excess water, and then I'll let it sit for just a minute, and then I will start to peel that paint inlay off of the stool. And this is my very favorite part. Look at that beautiful paint inlay transferred into that milk paint on the top of the stool. It looks so pretty. To seal my paint inlay and milk paint in, I'm using the Sweet Pickins clear oil wax. Now, I learned this trick from Bailey over at Reclaimed Grace. I had no idea that you could seal a paint inlay in with the oil wax and it won't smear your paint inlay. And so I'm just applying a healthy coat of the oil wax over the top and the sides of the stool, and then I'll let it set aside for 10 minutes. It's been 10 minutes, and so I'm just taking a dry paper towel and wiping back all of that excess oil wax until my paper towel comes up clean or just about clean. Oh my gosh, I love how this stool turned out. And if you love this kind of vintage farmhouse style, I have a completely free collection of 3 prints called Simple Country Days. And there's no catch whatsoever. They're just beautiful, and I want you to have them. The link is right down in the description box below. Project number 3 is this cast iron rooster, and I love the looks of him. The colors are just a little bit bright for my taste, so I'm going to give him a makeover, and I'm going to start out by painting him with 2 coats of Dixie Belle Mint Julep chalk paint. After 2 coats of the mint julep chalk paint, it's time to seal him in and highlight all those beautiful details. So I'm going to be using Dixie Belle's white wax and a wax brush, and I am just taking my wax brush and applying the wax over the entire rooster. Like I said, he has got some great details, and I wanted to highlight them with the wax. Once I get the wax applied, then I will take a dry paper towel and wipe back that excess wax until I get the perfect look that I'm going for. I love how this rooster turned out. I love the combination of the mint julep paint and the white wax. I think he looks beautiful. Let me know in the comments what you think. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope it gave you some ideas for your own thrift finds. And don't forget that free printable Simple Country Days. The link is down in the description. And if you're not subscribed yet, I'd love to have you. I'll be back again next week with another fun video, so I'll see you then.